Well, hey everyone, welcome to the Know Your Gear Black Friday edition podcast. I think maybe we're starting a tradition where we're going to do them on Black Friday. We did last year. This is episode 290 that we're doing today. And I'm glad you guys are spending it with me as I'm looking to see what just came in. I thought something. Okay. So what's new and exciting? Lots of new stuff. We're going to talk about stuff. This is for those of us who either didn't do any shopping today or finished their shopping today. I spent my entire day editing. So in fact, I was editing up until about 1 minute ago. So I was trying to get a video out for preview, and I think I'll do it, but I will get it done after the show. So what's going on? Well, obviously it's Black Friday, so there's a lot of stuff. I'm sure we'll talk about that and our weeks. Hope you guys that had holidays yesterday had a great holiday. I got to work on one of my own guitars, which was a nice treat. In fact, we went, as a family, went out to the movies. We saw Black Panther, and then we had a dinner kind of thing and stuff. So it was pretty cool. All right, what are we gonna do? Talk. Let's talk about gear. I don't have any early riser comments, I don't think. Did I grab some? I did. I grabbed one. So let's start with that. Let's start with this. Chris wants to know, so how did Dean Guitars lose a suit for using Gibson body shapes, but Nash and Sire can duplicate Fender bodies without repercussion? Well, first of all, so you guys know, the Fender Strat, Fender Tele, Fender P-Bass, those particular three body shapes. I'm not familiar with the Jazz, Jaguar, or Jazz Bass. Those also can be included. It's been a while since I've read the court case. I have it all printed out. Fender lost a court case in, I don't know when that was, 2005 sounds right. But again, it's been a while. It's been a year or two since I've read the court case. Doesn't matter. Here's all you have to know. The Fender Strat body, and when I be very careful, the word Strat, Stratocaster are trademarks. We're just talking about the shapes. The Fender shape of the Stratocaster, Fender shape of the Telecaster, Fender shape of the P-Bass are public domain. They don't own those anymore. Nor I don't think they own them at any one particular point. Doesn't matter. The legal part of it doesn't matter. All it matters is you can make a Strat shaped body. Now, Strat shaped, you can't say the word Strat or Stratocaster, but you can make a Strat shaped body. It's public domain. There's nothing there's no issues there. So that's why those companies can do it. Gibson, of course, is trying to make sure that it doesn't happen to them as well. We'll see. I kind of find, like I said, I've been on the record saying this, I kind of find a lot of that stuff silly. I use the analogy that I like for which is what I say when I'm driving down the road. I drive a pickup truck. When I drive down the road, half the time, in fact, it actually happened to me. It happened a few months ago, so it doesn't even matter how many times it actually happened. I parked into a parking lot at some store, and somebody did, you know how somebody does blackout on their vehicles where they black everything out, so it's like either a flat black or black and every logo is black. Somebody had a truck that was white, but they removed all the logos, all the markings off the truck, and they made it streamlined, and they filled it in, so it didn't look like a cheap truck. It looked like a really beautiful truck, right? But here's what's crazy. They changed the grill. So there's no logos on the truck, and I couldn't figure out what kind of truck it was. And here's the irony of this. It was basically just like my truck. It was the same brand as my truck. Different model, but same brand as my truck. But we couldn't figure it out. So that tells you a whole lot with trucks. When I'm driving down the road, half the time when I'm looking at just pickup trucks, and you can say this about cars, when I'm driving down the road and looking at pickup trucks without logos, I'm almost lost looking at trucks because they look so similar. So to me, could you imagine if Ford and Chevy and GMC, well, GMC is Chevy, Chevy and Ford and Dodge and Toyota and so on fought it out all the time? Maybe they do. Maybe I don't know. But I mean, fought it out about like, your truck looks too much like my truck. So at this point, to me, the trademarkable things that are important are obviously the headstock and ultimately the logo and whatever little styling details that kind of are iconic to your instrument, which, let's face it, to most of them there's not. There's just the truck and just the headstock and the logo. So all right. All right, so that's to answer your question. It's that that's why they can get away with it, because those are public domain. Yeah. So here's the funny part. Okay, just reading some comments, man. So hopefully today I get to read more comments. All right. Okay, and let me get to the next question. I thought there was a couple other quick ones that came early. Let me see if I can grab them. The Kev with the V says, "Hey Phil, does Harley Benton establishing a beachhead on Reverb change the equation for U.S. consumers if returns are low hassle?" I don't know. Like I said, my experiences with Harley Benton weren't so great overall, and that was as a I'll dare say influencer interaction. And when I say that, like I said, it's not that it was. No, it was bad. I couldn't get one fixed or replaced. So I mean, here's the irony. I can't ever unsay this or unthank this. I was sent a Harley Benton guitar to review and share with you all. It came damaged. I told them it was damaged. It was obviously the headstock was cracked, and here's the damage. And they had no desire to replace it. And so I couldn't review it unless I just said, "Hey, here's a headstock that's broken from shipping." And I always thought that was odd, because you would think, based on what you guys always say, "Hey, they picked you out a good one," or they will, they only treat you good. And I always thought, man, if you guys are right, I guess you're screwed if you bought a Harley Benton, because I couldn't get service. With them knowing that it would I'm telling people, I've told people many times. I mean, it's not because for any reason. I have no ill will towards the Harley Benton people. I like them. I like their guitars. I have highlighted their guitars many times. I've even put them on my top list of some of the best guitars for the price. As a brand, as the guitars, I've never had an issue, but as someone who is, I've always been concerned. And so you guys know, I bought guitars from so many of these brands that even though they've sent guitars to me, because I'm like, "Oh, you guys want another one?" And I just buy it, put it on the channel, review it. I'm too afraid to buy a Harley Benton. Just being honest, won't buy one. I figure if I get one, it's damaged, I'm just screwed. I don't know what to tell you. So I'm not putting my money on the table for that. So there you go. That's my answer. So would it change that hassle-free? I have no idea. So there you go. You'd have to go back to old episodes if you want to know the whole story, what happened, how I ended up fixing the headstock, and my wife gave the guitar away to a kid. And by the way, that wasn't the only one. There was 2 damaged in the. So I had 2 guitars, and so a bass and a guitar that I obviously could never review or use anything for. The only thing I could get them to, I couldn't get them to resolve that in any way. The only thing I could get was they kept sending me a bill for them, which I was like, well, they're broken. So not only can I not review them, you want me to pay, and they wanted me to pay full price. It was a really strange thing. It was a strange thing. In fact, I think if I don't recall, I don't think it's a way. I think if I do recall, and I'm doing off memory, and I don't want to say anything incorrect here, but I'm pretty sure, because the way it works in my world is like invoices go to an accountant. We have an accountant. And I think they, I want to say they put us in collections, but I don't think they put us in collections. I think they just sent they sent an invoice to the accountant. I remember, I'll tell you why this is funny. I remember this, and I don't want to get it wrong, so I'm kind of taking a second, please, because I don't want to say anything inaccurate. I don't think it was collections. I don't think it was a nasty letter. I think they sent an invoice to the accountant, which is, obviously, as you guys know, I own a couple companies, so I have an accountant that handles a lot of that stuff. And my YouTube life is a little different than I don't want to say real life, but my business life. And so in the YouTube world, I handle most stuff, and I don't really interact with the company. And somehow Harley Benton got the accountant's address and sent them a bill. And why this was interesting was, the accountant called me. They never call me because it costs you money to talk to your accountant. So they called me to tell me that they didn't know what they didn't know what this bill was for because it wasn't to any of the real business names, to our real business names. It was all to this. I think it was made out to something weird, like Know Your Gear, Phil McKnight, or something, which isn't a company. So anyway, so I just thought that was things weird. So that all being said, I don't know. Hopefully it would be better. Would I try and buy one off Reverb if I knew that could have better service? I would. I'd buy a Harley Benton, then I'd give it a try. But after you guys do it, this time I'm not really up to trying to do it. So the sad thing for Sean's like, how would Harley Benton know who your accountant is? They may have, well, my accountant is, it doesn't matter. How would they know? They would probably find one of the LLCs if you knew what one of my LLCs were, and then the accountant's address would be on file because that's where all bills go to. We have an accountant that handles everything. I don't handle that stuff. I'm too dumb. Nobody would put me in charge of money. Okay. Okay, hold on. Oh, man, so many questions all over the place. A lot of what's up. What's up? Anyone buy anything cool for Black Friday? I didn't buy anything for Black Friday. Isn't that... Okay. Sean says, I don't like the Harley Benton is just basically someone doing shipments from Alibaba. Yeah, I see how you say that. Like I said, I am familiar with the Tolman Harley Benton thing. And like I said, it is legit. They are using huge buying muscle to get those prices. There is no question about, like I said, I'm not, if you notice everything I've ever said about Harley Benton, if I'm talking about the guitars, it's mostly been positive, 90% positive. If I've been talking about my experience interacting with as a customer, it's not been as positive because again, those are reflective of the actual experience that I've had. So I could say if you are thinking about buying a Harley Benton, the only concerns I have, or the only concerns I can tell you to be aware of is shipping. Sometimes things get shipped and damaged, and they don't seem to be the most spot on. Their customer service is not to the level of, let's say, some of the other big retailers that you're used to in the US. In my experience. But like I said, I like the people at Harley Benton, and I like the people at Tolman. So I don't know. They've been nice. Okay. So many comments. Let's get to let's stay back on track. What we have Frank says, "Hey Phil, new Guitar Day Player Plus Telly from Amazon during a fret polish found poly on the frets on a maple fretboard. How is the best way to remove the poly?" So it's really so much better when it's lacquer. Nitro, it's so much easier. Here's the issue. I'm going to tell you not how to do it. I'm going to tell you how I do it, and I do not want you to do it the way I'm going to tell you. Okay, so be very clear. I just need you to understand this. How do I do it? I have a very sharp X-Acto knife. Obviously, it's just an X-Acto knife, but it's, I have an X-Acto knife. And I score them and then remove them. I score the sides. Sometimes I even heat the blade lightly, almost like cauterize. But I don't know if that's necessarily important. I just saw somebody do it one time, and I gave it a try, and I liked it. That's how I do it. The problem is I don't know if I would say like, yeah, give that a shot. I'm just telling you, like, if you took it to somebody, that's how I think. Well, not how I think. If you took it to me, as I took it to a repair tech or a luthier, that's how I think they would do it. I wouldn't sand it off. I would literally just score it off and remove it. I don't know if I would tell you to try that, but so I don't have a trick. That's the sad thing. Sometimes if you notice a lot of my how-to videos, what's different about my how-to videos and a lot of how-to videos is a lot of them are not how I do things. It's this idea of like, well, how would I have you do it if it was your first time doing it? And I kind of come at that approach. In this case, I've never really worked it out to like, how would I instruct somebody to do it with minimal risk? I don't know any other way to do it other than that way. I've never tried to do it either way than that. So that's how I do it. I don't recommend you try it. I recommend you take it to somebody or practice a few times on something else if you can until you get it right. Because if you screw it up, you're going to start chipping. You're going to have pieces chipping off the fretboard. It's going to suck. Maddie, 2 hats. Now, what I will tell you, in most cases, it should have little to no effect over your playing of the guitar. Eventually, the strings just wear it off, and you could tape off the fretboard entirely. Like, here's a solution that I think I'd be safe to tell you. Tape off the fretboard really, really well with painter's tape, so that all areas of the wood and finish on the wood are 100% protected, and then use a light sandpaper, something like 400 grit, and then 400 grit sand those frets, sand the material off those frets. That would probably be a safer way to go. And then just try to sand it down. And then obviously you'll know when you're hitting the metal, and then use something to polish them up. You can use steel wool, or you can use micro mesh or something like that, and just polish those frets back up. That would be a much safer, easier way to go with more minimal risk. Probably that might even be the right way to do it. I just know that that way takes a lot more time than I do it. And a lot of repair methods I use are based on like, how can I get the best quality at the fastest time? Because I don't want to spend a whole day doing something if it doesn't pay, more than a couple hours wage, obviously. Okay, Maddie 2 Hats says, hey, Phil, any recommendations for a Les Paul Jr. style guitar mid-level? Also would look weird if I put a humbucker in it. Well, it's funny, we talk about Harley Benton. They make a great Les Paul Jr. style guitar. I like theirs. I liked Epiphones, was really good. Those are the only 2 I really kind of played that I really think of that I liked. And no, I don't think it looked weird if you put a humbucker in it. Whether you put a P90 shaped humbucker, or if you try to pull it out and try to, do some funny routering, put a pickup frame and put a humbucker in it. Anyway, no, that's a great guitar. There's something about, like, again, I'm not a big car guy, but in the car industry, there's rat rods, right? Or not car industry, but in car collecting, right? That's the whole thing. There's these fancy vintage cars. And then if you go to the car shows, like I've been to a few, as a novice walking around, and I know that the rat rods are. To me, there's certain guitars, and I think of that, as like the Les Paul Jr., Les Paul Light, or I should say Les Paul Jr. Like there's certain, not lower price guitars, just stripped down guitars that are stripped down that I think make the best, like Frankenstein rat roddy kind of things you can do to them. Do something crazy to them. In fact, I actually I'm so lame to say this, but I think it would be cool if like some company did that, instead of making relic guitars, do something like that. Instead of doing this, it seems like everybody either wants to do a relic guitar is a cool thing, or they want to do this like combination of like, we put a jazz neck or our tele neck on a jazz body, or something like that. To me, I'm like, I think it'd be cool if, you see like an Epiphone, like a one P90 Epiphone with somebody had, it looks like, just looks like somebody ripped it out and stuck a super distortion humbucker in there, and a kill switch or something, just did it really cool. I think that'd be cool to not only do it, but I think it'd be cool if companies did it too and just emulated that. I think there's something cool about that, just in my opinion. So I love that idea. Let's see. Okay, hold on. I'm just reading some comments and questions. Oh, see, Stefan said in Germany you can't complain about Thomann customer service. Yeah, I like I said, it's funny. I know Thomann, I know Harley Benton is Thomann, and I kind of I don't equate that because I bought things from Thomann and I've never had a problem. I've only had a problem when I bought Harley Benton, or like I said, when they wanted reviews, which, I don't know. Remember, and I've said this before, it could have been part of the problem because they didn't like my reviews. So why help me make more of them? I mean, I don't know. Who knows? Okay. That's what happens. I don't know the answers. It's a mystery. Alex says, hey, took your advice last week, got a soldering iron to reattach my Ibanez RG220B input jack or output jack, depending on how you want to say that. But the jack only has one wire. Nope, that's not true. Your video showed 2 to 3 stripped. There's no such thing as a one wire jack. It's impossible. One small wire wrapped in metal strands. Right. So what it is the metal strands are the second wire. Again, I'm going without looking at it. So internally, Alex, what you're going to have is the internal wire, which will probably be cloth braided in black. That will be the hot, and then the metal wire around that, or the metal shielding, whatever you want to call that, wrap. We'll call it a wrap. Wrap around that is the second wire. That's the ground. So what I would suggest that you look at is a Gibson style pickup, 2-conductor. So write this down, Alex. 2-conductor Gibson style pickup. Just type that into Google. You'll see what probably looks like what you're looking at, which is this metal braided wire. The metal braiding is the ground, and the center is the hot. And from that, you should be able to find either a diagram or just pictures on Google Images on how you want to solder that up. It's pretty simple. It's a little bit more of a pain in the ass when you do the output jack with that kind of cable or that kind of wire. And but it's still very, very, very straightforward. And not that I want your project to get deeper and deeper, but if you have trouble, you can always just get 2 wires. You can order or just get some wire and then just make a hot and a ground. Essentially, you just need a hot and a ground, man. It's super easy. But I understand why you're looking at it. You're like, hey, wait a minute. What the hell is this? This is just one wire. It's actually 2. It's just how that wire is done. Like I said, the ground is outside of it. It's the sleeve, the metal sleeve. I hope that helps. Todd Tech says, for a cheap bottle of holiday whiskey, cheers, bro. Cheap holiday whiskey. It's funny. I had a funny thing happened at the Costco. It's not that funny, but it was just weird. It was a weird thing that happened at the Costco. We had went last week. Well, my wife and I, she asked me to go to Costco with her. We go Costco. Ralph, as you guys know, my buddy Ralph likes to pop over on Saturdays. And he just kind of, pops over, and we use it. Sometimes we have barbecue. Sometimes we'll go out to dinner. Sometimes, we work. Sometimes we watch, Blues Brothers again, whatever it is. And he likes to, the first thing he likes to do is he likes to make himself a old fashioned. And we've bought expensive whiskeys. We bought all these whiskeys during COVID. Ralph and I were experimenting, trying all these whiskeys, expensive ones. And I'm just going to let you guys know how crazy it got. I mean, we bought some really crazy expensive whiskeys. Okay. And I'm not a big whiskey person. So it's like, it's okay. It's like, I like whiskey. Okay. But he likes it. And what he ended up liking was Woodford. So what's funny is I call it the soccer mom size bottle. They make a big bottle and they sell it at Costco. It's like $50 for this giant, looks like a giant cologne bottle, right? It's huge. I don't know how many ounces are in it, but it's huge. And he likes it more than anything else. And to be honest with you, it's like, it's not cheap. I don't know if it's cheap whiskey. It's just not as expensive as some of the crazy ones we were buying when we were trying different whiskeys. And a couple of weeks ago, he came over and we were out, and I didn't notice, and I felt really bad. He's like, "Oh, there's no whiskey in the cabinet." I'm like, "Oh, there's not." I'm like, "Oh, okay." I didn't know. So when we were at Costco, I went to pick one up, and I thought, I'm kind of in charge of making sure the whiskey's in the cabinet. That's like my thing. And I go, I don't want to mess this up. So I grabbed 2 of these giant, they're freaking huge, man. I don't know how to equate it to a size in the show of how big they are, but they're huge. They look like whiskey bottles you'd buy from Costco, right? They're huge. And so I bought 2 of them, and they're in the cart. And they're ringing us up at the cash register, and the lady just out of nowhere goes, the cashier out of nowhere goes, 2 bottles of Woodford whiskey? Wow. And I thought it was like she was being funny. But then I realized, like, when we were walking to get, you're inspected so you can leave the place. I started laughing. I looked at my wife. I go, I think she was judging us. I think that was like a, really? So I was like, and then my wife's like, oh, she was definitely judging you. She thought and I was like, yeah. I'm like, is that, am I buying too much? And then I go, wait, how does she know it's Thanksgiving? How does she, for all she knows, I'm having a party and that's why I need this. Or maybe I'm just going to douse the turkey in it. She doesn't know. And then I was like, who is she to start judging me for buying 2 giant bottles of whiskey the week before Thanksgiving? I mean, I understand if it was like in June, that would just look like you're really, maybe have a problem. But I'm like, it's a holiday. Like, you can buy a bunch of whiskey on a holiday. And then I'm telling my wife, I go, I feel like I'm going to turn around and go back to the cashier and be like, so what's the deal? Why can't I buy a bunch of big old bottles of whiskey? So anyways, I got these. So anyways, this is why the story's funny. It's still not funny. But what's interesting to me is then last Saturday, Ralph came over and he opens the cabinet and he's like, holy crap. Because he's two giant bottles of whiskey. And he's like, all right. He's like, are you drinking a lot of whiskey now? And I go, no, they're for you. I just don't want to run out again. It's kind of like why I have 2 propane tanks, right? It's like if one empties, my thought is now like with the propane tank, when one tank goes empty, I put the new tank on and then I go have the other tank exchanged. So I always have a backup. I have a backup bottle of whiskey. So I don't know why I'm talking about that. I apologize, everybody. It is Black Friday. I'm going to talk about guitars. Anyways, thank you, Todd, for the bottle of whiskey. Voodoo Fist says, hey, Phil, will you be doing best gear of 2022 video in December and any predictions of cool gear coming in 2023? I probably will. I'm working on right now updating my favorite guitar lists, because of the inflation and the world's changed. I have all these videos that are just so dated, which is really, one thing about creating these kind of videos really, really hammers home how much the world has changed in a short time. I did videos 5 years ago and they held up. They were holding up fine. And videos I did just a year and a half ago are not holding up as well because people click on them and they're like, you can't buy that for that price. That doesn't even make sense what you're saying. And so I got to update those. That's one of them. So yeah, best gear of 2022. And then predictions for 2023 cool gear. I don't know. I'm trying to think if I have any predictions right now of what I think is going to happen. I have a video that I'm editing today that I'm trying to work out a title for. I think I want to title it something like our brand names, paying attention to like Harley Benton or something like that, because this is really interesting guitar I came across that's, really interesting. It's a really interesting guitar I came across. So my prediction is, I don't know if I want to do a prediction 2023 video, but I'll talk about it here on the show. So the 2022 video recap thing, and I think I'll do for sure. 2023 predictions is simple. I think companies will be reacting, of course. Look, the economy is changing, and as it ebb and flows, right? It's going to go up and down, and it moves around. And then, of course, but more importantly, the boom is over, and that's really the more important thing. More so than anything else, because no matter how you feel about what you think the economy is going to do or not do, we all just have to agree on the easy part, which is the boom is over. And because the boom was over, that was so effortless to sell product. And so a lot of companies are going to have to go back to the old days of working to sell product again, because it was pretty much an effortless a gig for 2 years. So I think the whole you get what you get and you don't throw a fit attitude that they've been running on for 2 years, they're going to have to adjust that real fast. So it's going to be, what can they give you that's interesting and cool for the price point? And I think 2023 will be the first time you start seeing that stuff, a lot for your money again. You know what I mean? In the idea that maybe you'll be like, it's not that I think prices will come down. I just think that there'll be a little bit more effort put out to get our attention. So, okay, you guys are still talking about whiskeys. Kevin C says, hey, Phil, happy Friday. Will PRS ever make a production Telecaster style guitar? My prediction on that, are we doing predictions now? Is absolutely yes, they will. My prediction is that Paul Reed Smith guitars will continue on the trend that they've been doing now, which is to make a product that everybody else makes, and the idea that in hopes that the PRS branding on that product will give it an elite kind of feel. So it's like, we make a Strat, but our Strat is better than everybody else. We make a Les Paul, but our Les Paul's is better than theirs. We make a Marshall, but our Marshall's better than theirs. We make a Mesa Boogie, but we make a better Mesa Boogie than Mesa Boogie. That's kind of the logic, right? We make an affordable acoustic, but our affordable acoustic's better. We make a, and we make a Tele, but our Tele's better. I think that's kind of the logic. We make a pickup, but our pickup's better. That seems to be the branding message that I kind of glean from all the stuff they've been doing for the last couple of years is, we make a, look at how they do it. We make a pedal, but we make it better than everybody else. And that's really like their messaging. And it is what it is. So it'll be interesting. And I think they'll do that for as long as they can. I think there's a lot of money to be made in that. And I think it's pretty easy because think about this for a second. Think about it like in a logical sense. You already want a Telecaster. So many players want Telecasters, Stratocasters, Les Pauls, Marshalls. I mean, these are products. These are proven products with proven histories of huge success in the guitar communities, musicians buying these things. So you can imagine, all they got to do is go, look, they already buy all these things. How can we put our branding on those things and then make it make sense? And there you go. I'm sure that's the idea. So until I don't know. My guess is they'll do that until they can't. Yeah. So, Brian says someone should copy the PRS 594 just to get Paul's goat. They did. It's called Gibson. They made that guitar originally. So, I don't think anyone's made a copy of a PRS guitar. I don't know if you can. I know, like, some people think like remember a PRS's core guitar, the Custom 24, Custom 22, is really a copy of either a Hamer or a double cut Gibson. I mean, that's really where that kind of comes from. So it already has lineage. Remember we talked about this last weekend, the whole grandfather theory, right? Like, this is the grandfather product. And then from then there's lineage and there was no existence before that. There's no PRS product that I can think of that exists without some version of it being out there before from another brand already. Not that I can recall. I'm trying to think of what it is that's out there that's totally like no one saw that before. Yeah, I can't think of it. I mean, there's stuff he did technology-wise, and there's stuff he did to guitars that I think was groundbreaking and innovative. But so you guys know, he's mostly removed most of that stuff. He's not doing that stuff anymore. Like I said, most of the stuff that made PRS very unique in the 80s and 90s, that's not the stuff they still put in guitars now. Because they realized that's not what customers are buying. Again, like I said earlier, it's customers are already buying these products. Why don't we just make the products that customers are buying? So that's the easy part. Yeah, this one's like PRS has a guitar, or Harley Benton has a guitar that looks PRS. Yeah, a lot of companies have a guitar that looks like a PRS, but like I said, PRSs to me always look like double cut Gibsons are Hamers. I mean, that was pretty much, there you go. All right, let's go to the next one, which is Mitch says, thankful for your insights each week. Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate that. I'm thankful for, a lot of things, but I'm thankful for having this show on Fridays. It's pretty cool. Thankful for hanging out with you guys. Thankful for my family. I'm thankful that my wife now handles Instagram. I don't know if you guys noticed. I always told you guys, I don't do Instagram. And then I basically have a couple people now doing a couple things for me to kind of help me stay focused on making content, since my other business ventures are now dominating so much of my that time. I don't say personal time, some of my time, that if you guys notice, all of a sudden I gapped out a couple weeks this year where I didn't make any content for over a week or so, or a week and a half, and I kind of like, okay, I told him, I said, I don't want that to happen again. I don't want to not make videos. This is something I enjoy doing. And so to make that happen, we had to divvy up some of the responsibilities. And one of the responsibilities was all the other social media stuff. And, which I was horrible at anyways. So now, it's pretty cool, man. It's a cool gig. I kind of, if you haven't noticed, if you want to follow on Instagram now, what she does is she either does content or she tells me what content she would like me to make. So it's really cool. And she's come up with stuff I would have never thought of, which is really, really cool. I mean, she comes up with stuff that you guys, I think, would ask me to do, but I never thought to ask you guys. Because she just comes up and she goes, do this. And I go, why would I want to do that? She goes, I think people want to see that. You know, it's kind of like the behind the scenes of what's going on. So more of that stuff. So that's really cool. So that's obviously, I'm thankful for that, because very cool. And I think I'll actually end up getting some really cool video content on YouTube out of it, because she's already made me do stuff that I go, oh yeah, maybe I shouldn't. I come back to her and I go, maybe that shouldn't be a 1-minute video on Instagram. Maybe I should do a full video on YouTube about that. And so that's kind of cool. All right. Hops and Barley. Hops and Barley says, love the bones of my HB Pro Tele, but hate the pickups. Any suggestions for replacements? Has humbuckers and coil split tap. Thanks. It's tough because I don't have a ton of information right there, right? You're not telling me like what kind of music do you want? Do you want them to be versatile? I mean, there's so many great humbuckers. That's what's fantastic. I mean, you could go with something as simple as a JB in a 59 or JB in a jazz set would sound fantastic. I like a Tone Pro in the Tone Pros in the bridge. If you go DiMarzio, and maybe an Air Norton in the neck, or a P.A.F. I'm always going to call it the P.A.F. The P.A.F. in the neck when it's a DiMarzio, by the way. And then I like the Mule set by Bare Knuckles. That's one of my favorite sets of pickups. Those are fantastic. I'm a broken record here when it comes to pickups, and that's really the depressing part, because I think sometimes, because you guys know I have a huge collection of pickups and I make pickups, that they're always looking for this insight. And I find my attitude about pickups is pretty simple, which is I like P.A.F. style pickups. There's something musical about that type of pickup. It's very interesting to me that basically the first stuff out becomes the right stuff. And I've played so many people's version of a P.A.F. that I can honestly tell you, like a Tube Screamer. Let's just keep it simple. If you told me there's the original Tube Screamer, like Maxon Tube Screamer, let's say the TS9, let's keep it easy, or the 808, but we'll say TS9. There's a ton of versions of that pedal out there. And there's some that go a little bit further out than the original, but most of them are kind of close to the original with a variation. If I was to tell you that I love Tube Screamers, then by that definition, I like most of the variations of it. That's how I feel about P.A.F. pickups. I love the 59 era, 57 era P.A.F. style pickups by Gibson. I like Gibson pickups. Absolutely. I don't have a single Gibson guitar with a pickup that's not a Gibson pick. Oh, that's not true. Whoops. Okay. All my Gibsons but one Gibson have Gibson style pickups, except for my SG, which has a set of Northern Lights in it. But other than that, they all have Gibson pickups. As I'm a huge Gibson fan, I like Gibson pickups. I liked them better when they weren't as expensive. They've been ramping up over the years. They were a lot more exciting when they were as an expensive pickup. So that being said, I'm always interested in somebody's take on the P.A.F. style pickup. I really think most players could be happy with a P.A.F. style pickup. The only time I don't think you'll be happy with it is if you're looking for something more aggressive, and then you definitely have to go, something that's going to be in the lineage of the Super Distortion or something like that, or the JB, which is more aggressive pickups. But if you're not looking for aggressive pickups, look at 59 style pickups and use what I'm talking about. Use the anatomy of that pickup, and don't worry about the brand. Look, somebody makes a $49 version of a 59 pickup, and it's pretty good. I've tried them all. I did a review on a company that was doing some import ones out of the UK. I think it was like $100 for the set. I did that video, and that's why I did it, because I was curious. I'm always curious to see how cheap can you make a P.A.F, how expensive can you make a P.A.F style pickup. It's just a really great sounding pickup. Has really great upper harmonic tones. It has, and like a tube screamer, where the tube screamer has an issue, the P.A.Fs have an issue, which is why sometimes I like variations of them that have a little bit more of something I like. All right. I'm trying to read comments, guys. Yeah, Seymour Duncan does a good job. Of course, you know, I mean, that's what's great. There's so many great pickups. And don't forget used pickups. I just, you know, I did, like I said, talk about Instagram. My wife posted a picture, which again, I had never thought to do this before. So I bought a new Gibson Les Paul. When I say new to me, I bought this 2008. I'm pointing at a 2008. I bought this 2008 Les Paul. This is a dream Les Paul for me. Carter's Vintage Guitars had it on their website. I like Carter's Vintage Guitars. I like the guys there. And I saw it one night. It was 7 pounds, 8 ounces for this guitar. Super light. And I already familiar with it because Gibson Les Paul Classics from 2005, 2006, 2008, I've picked them up and I found ones that were light. It's probably because they're, probably because they're weight relieved in the idea that they have those holes drilled in them, but I don't care. I don't care how they did it. I don't care. I just like the idea that my Les Paul feels not like a bowling ball and like a brick. And one of the things I want to do is put some classics in it, some 57 classics in it. And I want to change a couple things on it. And so I went to Sweetwater and I bought a bunch of stuff, including they had 2 demo returned. They had a 57 Classic Plus and a 57 Classic neck bridge. It's neck or bridge, it doesn't matter. And they were both like 20, 30% off, you know, because they were demo. And so I bought them. And anyways, I had it all lay on my desk and my wife took a picture and that's when she posted it on Instagram. And you guys, it went crazy. You guys, I thousands of views. I was like shocked that you guys were so interested. I was like, oh, never occurred to me you'd be interested that I was doing something behind the scenes. And reason I tell you the story is because of what I'm saying, which is I could care less if they were used. You know, that's the great thing about pickups. I like pickups the same way I like speakers. The more they get used, I think the better they sound. I think they're better 10 years old than they are when they're new. I think as the magnets soften, I think as it, you know, I think it gets better. So definitely don't be afraid to try used pickups too. As long as you know, buying from a reputable source, you know, somebody that's a trusted seller and knows what they're talking about. So consider those options. Woody Stims says, when will PRS make a better Flying V? Well, if I was going to guess, I don't know. I don't think they would make a Flying V. It's possible. Here's what like I said, here's what I think about, like I said, what I would imagine their business model for the next decade is going to be. Like I said, everything that's selling well, Les Pauls, Strats, Tellys, Marshalls, Tube Screamers, Klons, like anything that's selling well, PRS is going to make a version of that because why not? It's the, hey, they're already buying this. Let's stick our logo on it. And our logo represents quality. So therefore we're just putting a quality seal on a product they're already buying. What I won't imagine they would be doing is anything innovative. If you look at them, you look at guitar companies like Ormsby or mayonnaise, Ormsby, Comparison, Aristides, I'm trying to think more, you know, Strandberg, you know, there's a ton of them like this. When I think of those companies, I think of companies trying different things, fan fret systems, stainless steel frets. They're trying to innovate a little bit, or at least keep up with innovation. You know, again, I'm not saying they've even, created anything. They just understand what's coming, what players are kind of gravitating towards, and how to get youth players and what the youth players are interested in. They seem to be on the edge of grabbing that. When I look at PRS, like PRS seems to be, and I mean this, like I said, this is just as just somebody like you guys, just assessing the market that I see. I see them doing the same business strategy Fender and Gibson are doing right now, which is how do you cash in on the boomers and the Gen Xers, right? That's the strategy. It's just like Fender going, how do we cash in? Okay, what does a boomer and a Gen X want? Well, they don't want to lift a heavy amp up. Okay, so we need to make an amp that's really heavy. Well, like we'll make a digital amp that's not really heavy. And like, well, wait a minute. We don't have to make that because there's already tons of companies that make digital products that are super easy. Yeah, but those are confusing. Just keep it easy and make it one amp. Like it's a strategy that they're smart to take. Same thing with a lot of companies. They just look at what it is that we want, and they're just selling it to us. What do they want? Oh, they want the thing they ever had. Let's recreate that the exact way that was. So I think that's kind of like what they'll keep leaning into, is how to do that, how to be a part of that. And I think a ton of other companies are going to worry about the innovation thing. But so reason I say that about the V and stuff is I just can't imagine P.A.F or any of those guys really worrying about something new or different. Now, when I say kind of, because I don't know, a V is an old style guitar. So, I mean, will they make a V because it's an old style Gibson style guitar? Maybe. I don't know. That's just my assessment of what I see, what I keep seeing them do. That's based on everything I keep seeing them do. Music Therapy Laz, what's up? Hey Phil, will we finally meet up at NAMM 2023? If we means me, then no, I'm not going to go to 2023 NAMM. I'm never going to go to a NAMM show again. I didn't go to last year's NAMM show. The NAMM, the NAMM show is like a lot of things that will limp on probably for a long time. But the problem for me is in the business arena that I work in, there's nothing for me at the NAMM business to do. And because there's nothing business to do, it's just there to go. It would be there to go goof off, and I don't need to go there to goof off. My logic is, in fact, even my wife was like, "Are you gonna go? You're gonna go?" And I told her, I don't have any real reasons to go. Not for a YouTube channel, not for any of the other endeavors we do. There's no real reason to be there. I spend, so you guys know, 2, 3, 4. Why do I say it like that? Let's just say 2 or 3 days a week, I'm on at least 2 or 3 Zoom calls a day for business. And there's no reason. I've even had companies sometimes like, why don't we fly out? And I'm like, why don't we just Zoom call it? Well, we're good. This is the future now. We can Zoom call this. You don't have to do that. And the same thing with NAMM show. I don't really need to go to the NAMM show to see physical product anymore. Most of the companies that I like aren't even going anymore. And, and I think to myself, I said this last year, I went to the Sweetwater event instead of NAMM show last year. That's what I ended up doing. And I'll probably do something. I won't do Sweetwater next year, but I'll do something similar to that. I might say, instead of going to NAMM show, maybe I'll fly out to a factory, which is, I went to 2 factories this year. So same thing. I'd rather go to factories. I'd rather go somewhere that's, like that for me. So before I would go to the NAMM show, I would, go somewhere else. Go check out something else. Go check out some gear. Octopus Ear says, have you tried the HDRX? I keep forgetting how to change the name. So you guys know it's called the HD. It's so confusing now to me because it originally wasn't called that, right? But they got a cease and desist. So PRS got a cease and desist. I forgot for what. Was it Fender or was it Hendrix? Somebody cease and desist them. They had to change the name. It might not even been those 2 companies I mentioned, but I remember they had to change the name, so I have trouble remembering what it is now. So it's the HDRX, but it was originally called something else. HDRX 20 yet. Have I tried it yet? I have not. PRS was going to send one out. They decided not to send one out, which is fine. So I haven't tried it. My guess, without trying it, is it's going to be exactly or something like the Marshall Origin amps. That would be my logic. Is it's designed to be a price-friendly Plexi-esque style amplifier, right? And but changed, right? Because that's the whole thing. It's not exactly like the Plexi. That's the whole, like, it's got a master volume and things like that. I feel like like the way my hat looks weird. All right. So I haven't tried it, but like I said, they were going to send one out, but they decided not to. So, and I have no desire, like I said, to buy one. Unfortunately, because I already have amps like that, and like the Dirty Shirley, and I can tell you right now, nothing's gonna take the Bad Cat, spot. So, but if I ever come across one, maybe I'll give it a shot. Like I don't know. Like I said, I kind of picture it to be like more like the Marshall Origin. Music Therapy Labs is saying he has fun at the NAMM show. Yeah, I'm sure it's fun. Look, the NAMM show, I always had fun at the NAMM show, but it was always work. So that's why I said it's work, it's business and fun, which is great. But now there's just not a lot of business. I liken the NAMM show and I mean, I'm not trying to insult anyone. The NAMM show still has a purpose. There's still a benefit to a NAMM show. There's a lot going on there. But to me, I'm in a digital medium most of the time. Everything I do is in the digital world. So it's just not, NAMM is not conducive to the digital world. So. Oh, okay. Sean says Line 6 had beef with them because it was called the HX. Okay, so you know what? Thank you, Sean. That I think it was Line 6. I just remember they said they had to change the name. And I was like, oh, somebody at PRS was telling me they had to change the name. This is like a year ago or so when they had to change the name. So that makes sense that they had to change it. And that's why I have trouble remembering what it is, because I remember it was a different name and then it changed. So. JJ Grew says, have you ever heard of a PRS EVH prototype? I have not. I've played a bunch of prototype amps. I played, PRS had a prototype amp or a couple prototype amps that are designed to be pedal platform amps where they're clean and you just shove pedals in front of them, which is why when they came out with the pedals, I thought that made sense that one would be like, a Klon style pedal, because then you could plug it into their clean amp. But who knows if that, that's the thing about prototype stuff. I mean, you get to see it sometimes, but most of it never ever sees never sees the market. Okay. Grumpy Guitar Mike says, I love the gifts video. Folks don't often think about stuff like that as a great gift for the players. Yeah, he's talking about this. Thanks, Grumpy Mike. This is this week's video was gifts that you can use to basically build skills. And you know what that was? What was great about that was Stu Mac, I had promised, I kind of felt bad. I was looking at the calendar going, oh man, it's getting kind of late in the year. I had promised you guys when we did the Stu Mac promotion where you guys bought in and got the deal to get free freight and discounts on kits and stuff. I said, I'll do some videos on that. And then I started looking at the calendar going, oh my God, I haven't really done a whole lot of videos on that. And I go, okay, let me get a kit video going. And then I was looking at the kits and their prices were crazy good. I was very shocked to see how good the prices are on the kits. Probably because, a lot of companies are overstocked right now. Maybe they have stock to make deals. But the mini Tele kit for $99, I was trying to convince my wife to buy it to do a kit. I go, you should build a Tele. You should make a mini Tele. She didn't want to do it. And so I'm doing the Tele kit. And so you guys know, I'm be doing that video on a Telebid video. And then, so that's why I want to do that video. Plus, I always do a Christmas gifts or holiday gifts video, whatever you want to call it, because and I always kind of come up with a new angle. And I thought this year, I'm like, I really kind of want to do stuff where people make stuff, because the fact I think everybody just spent the last couple of years buying everything like crazy. So after a while, it's like, okay, what can we do now instead of what can we buy? I think there's a lot of what can we do. Which is why I'm probably not out shopping today. Okay. Matthew says, hey, today I drove to town for a Black Friday TV and came home with a bass guitar. Money well spent. Yes. It's great as long as no one complained when you got home. Could you imagine the family is like, we can't watch you play bass? You're like, yes, you can. You're going to watch me play bass. They were like, great. Bass is better than TV. Yeah, I didn't get anything from Black Friday. Isn't that funny? I get in that. So I bought parts. I bought some parts, but I did that earlier in the week. Had nothing to do with that. Zubin, what's up? He says, hey, Phil, change strings on 2 different guitars, action higher at the 12th fret with buzzing, same strings as before, cold weather, or needs restring. No, I'm sure it's because your neck's adjusted. I mean, could it be the cold weather? Sure, of course. There's a lot of things that can factor in to, when you change strings. Guitars are just, they're fun that way. Some guitars, you can change the strings. I mean, I've taken guitars where I took the strings off. Let's say a 10 gauge set of strings, took it off, let it sit with no strings for 7-8 months, put strings on it, and it was fine. I've had guitars where I've took strings off and 5 minutes later put the new strings on, and now everything needs to be adjusted. Is that the weather? Sure. Is it the environment? Possible. Is it the guitar neck? Could be. It's just all those factors. It's, remember these things were once alive once, so they're not as as consistent as a piece of metal or a piece of I want to say plastic, but I think even plastic, it's kind of weird that way. But yeah, sometimes you have to make adjustments. Gas Addict says, where do I buy LPD pedals? I'll jump on one. You can go to pedally.com. You can go to LPD pedals and buy direct, or you can go to Reverb. And it's funny, you think I should buy them. If I buy them direct, I buy them direct, but I always buy everything from Reverb. I don't know what that is. I buy, even when I buy from music stores, I'll tend to buy on Reverb. The only time, and I don't know if Florence, I would imagine, I'm guessing, I could be totally wrong, but you could check. I would imagine if you go to LPD's pedal website and buy off the website, there's no sales tax on that. I wouldn't imagine he would qualify to have to charge you sales tax, but I could be wrong. Everybody's different. Every business is different in how it works. But from my understanding of the world, you should be able to go buy a pedal off there and save yourself the sales tax versus buying it from a retailer or Reverb. So there you go. All right. How are we doing? Well, we're doing good. Guitar Tab Daily says, do you still do Sharpen My Axe series? Like I said, we have some coming, but really what we did was we melted them into the Deep Dive series. And everybody has mixed feelings about that, but without a doubt, the Deep Dive series is producing a better result than the Sharpen My Axe series did. For sure. And it's a little easier. And so the question is, I don't know. Like I said, I think the problem is everybody's going to have a different opinion about this. Me, I don't look at my reviews as reviews anymore. Like when I look at the format and the way I review something, it's not even really a review. It's more like everything you'd ever want to know about this particular product, kind of, how do you adjust this? What kind to expect it? What is the goods, the bads of this, and how would you address that? So I don't know, but that's the idea. Hold on a second. I'm just looking for a question. Oh, Fred says you are correct. He did not charge tax. Yeah, I don't think he has to. So Blackstock Pickups website doesn't have to collect tax. We have 2 other business websites. They don't have to collect the sales tax. And then we have another business website that goes online in January, and unfortunately that one does have to collect sales tax. So there's all kinds of reasons why you do and do not have to do it. Depends on everything. So, and again, like I've pointed out earlier today, I don't handle that stuff. I just know, like, sometimes you do and sometimes you don't, and there's a reason for it. And it's usually Somebody who's in charge of the accounting. What? Okay, so well, I'm not old, I'm vintage says I shop on Reverb and I try to then go to the local site and order it by phone to help avoid Reverb fees. I'll do that too. I do it, like I said, I will check sometimes, like Eddie's Guitars will be on, like I think there's a good store to say, like they're on Reverb. I'll go to their website. I go to their website. Sometimes they'll charge less on their website. Sometimes you have to go to a website and it's literally like less than what they're putting on Reverb. And then they're not charging sales tax, and that's saves you 6-7% because they're not charging that. And then so there's an advantage there, and they're saving fees, which is good. But I've also had it where I had this weird situation once where I bought something off Reverb off a store, and then the next time I'll just save them the fee. So I bought direct. I had a way different experience than when I had it on Reverb. It was almost like them being accountable to getting feedback was a totally different experience. What I mean by is they didn't do anything bad. They just took I think I'd bought 2 times from a Reverb, and both times they shipped within hours. I bought it off their website and it took a week to ship. And then when they shipped it, then it took forever to get here. And then they didn't even give me an invoice. It was a really weird experience. Like it was definitely like that you could tell that they were prioritizing the Reverb customers is how it felt. So I try to kind of, like I said, you have to kind of look at all the situations to find the right one. Okay. All right. All right, hold on. Maybe this is a good time. Maybe it's a good time to do something else. I was going to do something, and I wanted to do it kind of today. So let me pull this up. Give me a second here. I have a call. I don't know if it's a cool idea. It's an idea. So let me go to it. I just want to make sure whatever I'm sharing with you, it's okay. Yeah, I want to do it. I want to share this with you guys. I thought this would be fun. Here's the story. In 2018, my channel, 2017. So I kind of decided in 2017 I was going to make YouTube videos. I had put some out in 2016, and I even had a few in 2015 kind of thing. But in 2017, I go, I'm going to make YouTube videos. And I remember going to and it could have been 2018 now that I think of it. I just can't remember the year. It's got to be 2018. So in 2018, I was flying to Maryland to go to a PRS event. I decided I was going to go to this PRS event, and that's where I met Tim Pierce. And what happened was I was in the airport in Dallas. So in Arizona, I flew American Airlines. If you fly American Airlines, you pretty much fly to Dallas. That's their hub. So it was Arizona, Dallas to Maryland. When I was in the layover in the airport, I got this text from Robert Baker, who has a great YouTube channel and teaches guitar. And he goes, "Man, I can't believe it. Congratulations." And I was like, what? I'm like, what? You read it's like, what? I was just on a plane. And he's like, Jared Dines just did a video, and he said like 5 YouTube channels you need to watch, and it was yours as one of the channels. And I was like, that's crazy. I was just blown away. And so I was just like living on cloud 9. And here's what's funny about that. So I always tell myself like, I'm gonna do a video about that, some YouTube channels. And so I thought, well, I got the show. Let's do this. Let's take a minute and do this. So I'm going to share some YouTube channels because this is the question I get a lot from YouTubers. This is a question I get a lot from you guys about YouTubers. So let me tell you 2 things about this at this level of whatever. When I say this level, whatever you think 300,000 subs and whatever you think of me and this channel, what you think this is, I'm going to give you some insight in this. First of all, I pretty much don't watch anyone I'm friends with. They don't watch me. I don't watch them. If you're going to talk to somebody on the phone a couple times a week, you sure don't want to watch their YouTube videos. Right? You kind of feel like, I already saw them. I already talked to them. I already know what he's up to this week. You told me. So there is a ton of channels like Dovey Das or The Tone King or 60 Cycle Hum and Ryan and Single Cycle Hum that I consider them friends, and I don't really watch their channels. you know, I mean, I poke in from time to time, but I mean, I'm not really like diehard watching their stuff. To me, it's like they're my friends. So what I'm going to share is channels, but first rule is I'm not going to share any channels that I'm friends with. I don't know these people. Everybody I'm going to share with you, I don't know them at all. The second thing is, and this is probably hard for you guys to understand because it's really interesting to me on my side, because to me, YouTube gives you so much analytics. And I don't know if I told you guys this, but I'm Oracle certified. So if there's one thing I understand, it's reports and analytics. So one of the things in analytics it tells me exactly what you guys are watching and who's feeding me videos and vice versa. So I can look and I can tell you all the channels on any given Friday. When you go, hey Phil, did you see this video? I already know you're going to talk about those videos because YouTube's been telling me all week that's where you came from, right? You're like, oh, the majority of your audience is watching these videos this week. It tells me the videos, not only the channels, but it says this video, this Trogley video, this this Trogley video, or this Ola England video, or Rick Beato video is feeding your channel, and this is what's feeding it. And I'm sure when there's other channels, they can see if I'm feeding them and so on. And so, so I tend to watch a lot of those channels because especially if they do what I do, or if anyone's like me, I don't really want to watch that because I'm not really interested in that. So here's what I'm gonna share with you. These are channels that I like. So I made some rules. 1, I don't know them. That's easy. 2, I don't think they're like my channel. So that's another thing, because I don't want to just show you like, hey, here's another channel like me. This is their, and there's something interesting. And also the most important thing, and kind of in the spirit of what Jared Dines did for me, because when Jared Dines did that, it was a huge deal to me. I mean, he was so big compared to me. So, I mean, he's going to have more power to do something. I'm not going to have any power with this channel to help these guys, but not in a level that would make any sense. But I want to deal with channels that are smaller. So I'm going to share some channels with you that I like and why I like them. And here we go. We're going to take a few minutes into this. Maybe it's fun. Hopefully it's fun. And if I mess up any channels' names, I apologize to those channels. First channel. This is Andre, or should I say Dr. Andre, I want to say Fludd, right? Dr. Andre Fludd. You can see here he's got 6,000 subscribers. He's a new channel. I've watched a bunch of his videos. Why I like his channel is I agree with him on like 3 things and I disagree with him on like 7 things. I'm not kidding and I'm kidding at the same time. He's got a different perspective. He's smart. He doesn't say or nothing. So one thing that's nice about that for me is it's nice to watch somebody who actually knows how to talk, where I don't. So it's nice to learn stuff. Obviously, I'm sure you guys are going to think I watch him because he's a Parker. He likes Parkers, and obviously I like Parkers too. Actually, that's not it, because he's from a different style of music. He's more of a technical style. Let's go ahead and do that. Look at that. Let me move this around. There we go. He's a different technical style than I am. And he's got some interesting concepts for videos. Obviously, he's an instructor. Obviously, he's reviewed like Rick Beato's signature guitar. He's reviewed Rhett Shull's guitar. He does a lot of high-end guitars. That's one thing that some people are not going to be excited about because a lot of high-end stuff. But he also does some cool videos like YouTubers do they deserve signature guitars. And he's doing some stuff where was one? Let's talk honestly about guitar sponsorships and stuff. So it's a cool channel. I like it. I like it because I'm suggesting it to you guys because he's a small channel and he's cool and he's got a different voice. When I say different voice, I don't mean tone, a different voice of guitar. You might get a different perspective. Obviously, he's highly educated and he's different than this channel and some of the other channels that I would even suggest that you guys know. He would be different. And he does something I like. Sometimes I'm watching it and I go, I don't agree with what you're saying. But, he does it with such great respect. I don't, it doesn't trigger you or anything. I don't feel like, that guy, I just go, yeah, I get why you think that. And I agree with a lot of stuff. I obviously, like I said, either way, I greatly enjoy his show. So I thought I'd share him with you. So I will put links when I timestamp this to this stuff. He's Dr. Andre Fludd. And again, if I'm messing up any of his names, I truly, truly apologize. The next one I know I'm going to mess up the name. I even asked somebody twice about it. Here's what it is. Ready? It is Psionic Audio. I'm pretty sure I'm saying that wrong, right? If I'm saying it wrong, I apologize. He's got 29,500 subscribers, so slightly larger channel. He does amp repair. He also reviews some stuff. That's not his thing, though. I was going to say shtick, right? But it's not his shtick. Obviously, he did a review of these. Look, you see, I watched most of it right there. And I watched some of his videos. I watched some of his QAs. Again, another person that I think I understand where he's coming from. Just like Andre, a lot of I'm going to go back to me for a second. With these channels, what they have in common, what I'm really sharing with you guys, these are channels that I hear lots of discussion about the battle within to be ethical and not want to, and to be successful. My battle within is I want to be ethical and successful, and those two things are very hard to balance. It shouldn't be. Should be being ethical should make you successful. That is not true. I love people who tell me that, and I appreciate that. Trust me, telling me that you feel that I'm ethical is one of the best compliments I ever receive. It's more important than anything else to me, because it's the thing that really drives me. However, I could tell you honestly, I've watched channels just blow by me like by nothing, and it's literally not from the ethics of it. It's because, sometimes ethics slow down success. Telling some honest truths really do hurt you. It doesn't help you unless I seem to be angry about it. If you're angry and honest, then you're somehow honest and successful. If you're just honest about your thought process, some people appreciate it, but it doesn't really attract a lot of people. But anyways, so back to his channel right here that I keep going back to. Like I said, if you want to learn a lot about amplifiers, I think he's got a lot to teach. He's got some opinions that are popular. He's got some opinions that are unpopular. He doesn't seem to have a problem saying them, and that's important because it's. I don't want to hear somebody just tell me everything's great, and I don't want to hear everybody tell me everything's crap and they're being screwed, because both those I think are easy things to say, and I don't think I tell everybody always says, somebody goes, well, they're brutally honest and therefore they're trustworthy. I find sometimes brutally honest sometimes has the most nefarious thing behind it, because they know brutally honest gets clicks, and sometimes they're just saying things to get clicks. So even though they're saying this thing no one's else saying, they're saying it for the wrong reasons. These are not what I feel about these channels. So back to him. Like I said, I'm pretty sure I'm saying it's Psionic Audio. If I'm saying it wrong, again, I apologize. I even watched another video of his this week to make sure I got the name right, but then sometimes these names escape me. But I just want to share. This is another channel I really, really like, and I'm sharing with you because, again, it's like this channel. Both those channels have something in common. I feel like they have a lot of ethics. Although, like I said, the problem with ethics is they tend to say things you're not going to like. So I'm just preparing you. Some of you guys are going to love it. Some of you are going to hate it. Some of you are going to both things it. One more. Well, should we do one more? Yeah, at least one more. I said 5, but maybe instead of spending 20 minutes on this, I'll just do one more. Here's another channel I really like. This one's another small channel. When I say small, it's medium. 21,700 subscribers. This is the Doug and Pat Show right here. The Doug and Pat Show. What can I say about these guys? These guys are smart. They know what they're talking about. Like the other two channels I was talking about, they don't seem to care whether or not they're saying the things or doing the things that are on trend. This is important, I think, because I'm trying to give you guys new perspectives and new channels to look at that I like and why I like them. And I think this is important because I'm not saying this, I like them, so you should like them, and I'm an influencer, and therefore you should be influenced like them. What I'm saying is that I have a perspective that unfortunately most of you do not have, which is I'm on this side of the fence. I make this content, so I can tell you when I'm watching other people's content, I can tell you who's more full of crap and less full of crap because I'm on the scene, right? I'm not here to bash channels ever. there's no good that comes from that in my experience. But I will tell you this, I'm not stupid. If a company sends me hey, we'd like to pay you to do this video, and then next week I see 5 channels do a video about that, and none of them seem to disclose that this company's sponsoring it, I know it's sponsored. When I say I know, it's like my gut's screaming, because obviously this company's trying to pay me. So why didn't they just pay those guys? They had to have, right? So what I'm trying to tell you is these channels are not those kind of channels. These are the channels that I like what they got to say. If you like vintage amps, again, these guys like stuff on the expensive end, but still really cool guys. This is just chill. This stuff, these guys, in my opinion, should be making a podcast. If they do, and I don't know about it, I apologize to them right now for saying that. But a lot of these videos, like this 43, 51 minutes, I hope they're turning this stuff into audio podcast. I've told you guys many times, and this is my, is that I mention all the time, this show is a podcast, and some people go, what does that mean? And it just means that the audio is stripped off this and sometimes edited, because obviously if I'm pointing at too many things, we got to change things if I'm not describing it. And also, sometimes we take certain things out, but majority of this, if not all of it, goes up on an audio, and that audio gets, streamed millions of times. I mean, it's a big deal. So people consume differently, the video versus audio, and there's something to do that. So sometimes if you have a nice thing to say, even if it's, even if you're pointing at an amp a lot, you just have to be conscious that you have to say what you're doing. So if you notice a lot of times, like I'll point, like earlier when I was pointing, if I point at this guitar, I go, I'm pointing at this John Petrucci Music Man 7-string right now. You have to say that, because the audio version, if you said, hey, this guitar, they're like, what guitar? They don't know what you're saying. So the only thing is, when you strip the audio off, you have to describe what you're saying. Right now, when this goes to podcast, they're going to go, of course, because the car's going, of course, they get it. So there's 3. That's 3 channels I wanted to share with you. I thought about making a video. The thing is, I find is that when you make a video like that, it never gets any views. And really, to be honest with you, I think a lot of you guys are gear geeks like me. And I think the one thing about this podcast you like is there's no fear of talking about the industry or guitars or whatever. And again, when I say fear, it's not to take the industry down. It's just to say, hey, let's have an honest conversation about whatever we want to talk about. And I feel like those channels also have those kind of conversations, and they're really cool. So check those guys out. Very cool. And again, more importantly, they all know their stuff. So there's a lot of other channels I could have picked out too, and I will. There's tons of channels. But like I said, the rules are I'm not picking out my friends, and I'm not going to pick out anything that kind of like just regurgitates whatever I'm doing. And last, I don't know. I like them. That's it. Let's go to the next one. Tampa Blues. What do you think of Dipped in Tone podcast being sponsored by Sweetwater? Makes total sense. Sweetwater was going to sponsor this podcast. This podcast is sponsored by patrons. Look, I have a lot of patrons. You guys are awesome. This show is fully sponsored. I've said that every week. I want you to be very clear. This is a fully sponsored show. It just happens to be sponsored by patrons. I don't understand it. I've tried. I love it. I love them. I love you guys. The members here are sponsoring it as well. There's members on the we're almost at 100 members on YouTube and over 400 members on Patreon. That's 500 members total. 500 people sponsor this show, and they've done it for years. I have hundreds of patrons. No exaggeration. I mean, hundreds that have been on this since the first 100 episodes. So you remember, we only put out about 50 episodes a year. So you're doing the math on this. They've been following and taking care of this. And the main thing they get out of it is they sponsor the show. That's the main thing they get. They get a couple other little things that I can try to do for them to say thank you, as many thank yous as I can. If I can do a Zoom call, if we can send a packet or a t-shirt or, a video ahead of time or something like that. That's whatever we can do to give a benefit to just show gratitude. But the main thing they're saying is, hey, we're sponsoring this show. So it's no different to me. I mean, it's cool to me, trust me, to in my opinion, to say, hey, like my patrons, my viewers sponsor it so the company doesn't have to. But you have to sponsor this kind of content because there's just no way to, there's no money in it. This isn't Joe Rogan. This isn't that. These aren't these kind of podcasts. If we did a political podcast or if we talked about sports, I mean, you'd have a shot of making some decent money as a podcast. But as a guitar podcast, oh man, it's if you don't find a sponsor, it's just, and all those podcasts I just said have sponsors too. I mean, it's just, there's no money in it. I won't share it. I was going to say, I got a thing where I got it paid. It was funny for one of the podcasts. And it was like, I think it was 9 cents. I got 9 cents. I remember like I wanted to frame it. I was so excited. I'm like, oh, I got 9 cents. So yeah, that makes sense. I've said this before. Again, there's no guarantee of this, but in my experience, the Sweetwater people they just know who their customers are, and they want access to them, which is you guys. They just want access to you guys, and they don't really seem to want to manipulate you or trick you, because that's not where the money's made. So there you go. Okay. SS750F says, we sponsor because people need to hear what you have to say. Well, I appreciate saying that. I don't know if they need to hear what I have to say, but I appreciate that we built this community together. And it's been a long journey. It's been really cool. Like I said, I would have thought it died years ago. I love it when somebody tries to troll me and like, oh, it's going to end one day. And I'm like, all right, it's supposed to already end it. I had no plans for it to go this far. So there you go. By the way, a lot of you guys are giving suggestions of other channels based on the channels I recommended, and I will go through those and I will check them out. Like I said, I have other channels I want to share too, and there's just something about, like I said, I know I feel like I'm beating this dead horse, but I kind of feel when I watch another channel, I can feel like, it's not how honest they are. It's kind of like what I told you about Josh Scott and some of the things he said once. And I think anyone who makes content, obviously it's great, right? Makes content, that's fine. But interacting with the people, to not bring up this, how hard this is, not to make content, but to be ethical and be successful. This is a very hard thing to do. And sometimes it's said so cavalier, either way. Look, maybe not everybody thinks like me. That's fine. You can be ethical, but there's a feeling one day when you look at somebody doing what you're doing, and let me put it in the best way, and I'll get off this tangent, I promise. You've been at work and you watch the employee, your coworker who's not ethical, succeed. It gives you, obviously you feel great because you're ethical, but it also gives you sadness. You're like, man, did I make the wrong choice? Look at their success. Right? I think anybody who is ethical, it's not an easy choice. It's a hard choice. And because it's a hard choice, you struggle with it all the time. I recognize that in people's tonality and voices when they're basically saying, hey, look, I don't want to sell out, but I also don't want to do this for free. Right? Who wants to work for nothing? Nobody. And who wants to be a sellout? Nobody. So at some point, most people, I think sane people, have to struggle with where you find that success. And that's my end of that. Okay, hold on. Let's do some guitar stuff. Hold on. Okay, let's update this. Try not to cough. Okay, let's see. The next one, as I keep coughing, I'm sorry. It says, happy Thanksgiving to all. I'm thankful for KYG. Thank you for that. Jacob says, just got a classic vibe telly. I love it, but small E string gets snagged underneath the 3rd fret. If a slight bend below, fretboard is gloss neck though. Okay, so basically what his issue is that a lot of us have done this, okay? You're playing your guitar and your high E string catches right underneath the lip of one of your frets and just stays there and sticks there. And that's because, excuse me, I apologize. I drank some water and I just sipped it wrong. That's because there's a gap between your fret and the fretboard, and that could be because your neck shrank a little bit and now it's sticking out a little bit, or it could be because the fret lifted a little bit, or maybe they just didn't round off the bottom of the fret. How you fix that is you want it. The correct way to do it is, I've got 1,000 videos on this where you see me use a fret and dress file, and I just smooth out those edges and just round off the fret. That usually does that. Sometimes you may have to press the fret in with some super glue to make sure that it it's back down against the wood. I'd have to know how big the gap is and how big the problem is. The only thing that's good news to know is that the problem doesn't have to be very big for it to be a problem. So that's good news, believe it or not, because if it's a big problem, you got a big fix. But if it's a small problem, it's a little fix, and the small problem is enough for the string to do that. So that's what I would recommend doing first, is rounding off that fret, the ends, so it's smooth and there's nothing to catch the string. But also be conscious, take a picture and look at the gap to see that the gap's not too big. What I will tell you the problem is that you don't want the string to continually catch onto there, not only because it's detrimental to your playing and all the other things that go wrong, but each time the fret's catching onto there, you're taking the chance that fret's, why do I see fret? Each time the string catches underneath there, it's detrimental because the string can be lifting the fret up, and that can be problematic. So what I highly suggest is you get it fixed. You can learn to get it fixed. I have a ton of videos on that. I don't have a specific video on that specific issue, but any of one of the fret dress videos I do will kind of address that issue, because that's what you're doing, or take it to a guitar tech and have it done. It shouldn't be very expensive, right? First, if you pay for a setup, in most cases, you pay for a setup, and that should be addressed with that. That's not kind of like heavy work to do, right? So I would suggest doing that. Do it yourself or take it in for service, but it needs to be addressed, because it's one of those things that will just continually get worse. Richard says, what are some recommendations for a vintage routed Strat build? I've been considering a Vega trim or a P.A.F import. Okay, what are recommendations for a vintage routed Strat build? I don't know if I exactly understand the question. Because you're saying vintage route, I think vintage routed, you mean like an old, like it's routed out like 3 single coils instead of humbucker single, and then you're talking about bridges. I've been considering the Vega trim or the P.A.F import. Well, if you're talking about bridges, I like the Vega trim way more than the P.A.F import bridge. So that makes that easy. I really like the Vega trim. I actually installing a Vega trim in a guitar when I get free time. I was looking at the bridge yesterday when I was doing my Les Paul, thinking I was going to get to it, and I didn't get to it, and I was filming that. So if that helps, I'm not 100% sure on the question, but I can tell you I like the Vega trim stuff. I like those guys. I like that bridge. So I've installed a bunch. Okay, he's saying on bridges. Yeah, Vega trim. I like that bridge. I like Godot bridges as well, so you know. And the Vega trim bridge. I think those are the two. I don't know if you look at most of my guitars, I have one of those two bridges in there. And more Godos than Vega trims, just because it's an easier bridge to get hold of and it's cheaper. It's funny. Here's a funny thing. The real one says, would I put a Vega trim in an SE Silver Sky? It's funny is I went to put a Vega trim in my P.A.F Core model, my silver one. If you remember my original silver P.A.F guitar, and because I just didn't love that bridge, and I was like, oh, okay, you know what? I'm gonna put the Vega trim bridge in it, and I thought this would be perfect. And I was gonna put a humbucker in the bridge of the Silver Sky of the Core, and that was so as you guys know, I had a gold Silver Sky, the Mesa Gold. I bought that one, and then I had the silver one, but the silver one was sent out by P.A.F and then to review, and then they let me keep it. And I was like, oh, and that's why I sold it, by the way, because what I'm about to tell you. So I go, I want to put the Vega trim in it. And then when I yanked out the bridge to put Vega trim in it, underneath the bridge, there was damage to the body, and that's why they sent it to me. I'm sure it's because it was a B stock. And like I told you guys, a lot of guitars are sent to me because they're B stocks, and they're like, that's why they're like, oh, just keep it. I'm sure. Or maybe they didn't know it was damaged underneath the bridge, but it had this impact underneath the bridge, damaged dent and stuff in the body. So I couldn't put the Vega trim because the Vega trim is forward more. And it didn't cover as much of the body, so it would show the damage. So I put the original bridge in, and I go, okay, I'll do it, and I'll get a different one. I got the Mesa Gold to put it in there, and then during that long experience, it's what happens. You fall in love with guitar. I like the silver one more than the gold one. Yada yada yada. So the question is, would I do it? Yeah. Why would you do it? You said, would you put it? Oh, would you? Yes, I would. I would do it. I like that bridge more than the PRS bridge, than the Strat, than the John Mayer Strat bridge. I don't have a problem with that bridge. I just like the Vega trim bridge better. So. Okay. Do we have one more question before we go? We hit the hour and a half mark. It's a holiday show, so I'm going to try to keep it a little short. You know what? Let me do some rapid fire questions. I never tried this, okay? We're going to try something fun. Let's just see how many questions I can do in like a short period of time. Okay, ready? I'm going to mess up names, but I'll get the questions right. Wrecking Dog says, what do you think is the better value? E-Art guitar, which is like, I call it ERT, but I found out it's called E-Art. E-Art guitar or Made in Mexico guitar, Mim. Made in Mexico guitar by far. In fact, I would even say that they're on par when the quality. So as you guys know, I praise the E-Art guitars a lot, but I as much as I've had complaints about modern Fender problems, look, if you asked me if the last couple E-Art guitars I tried and the last couple Made in Mexico guitars I tried, which one was better qualities, I would say E-Art guitars. If you're asking me what's the better value, the Made in Mexico guitars, I would pay before if it was money was, I'm gonna say money's no object. If you only have $300 and that's all you can get and you want a good guitar, just check out E-Art guitar. E-Art, ERT, whatever you want to call it. $300 and something, great guitar. I recommend them. If you're buying a $500, $600, $700 guitar, I know they have a higher end ER guitar. I've never tried them, but the Made in Mexico stuff, that stuff with a setup, you're good and golden. It's going to hold value in the long term. So definitely. Okay, Brian, is there much difference between the Soldano mini amp and the new Soldano pedal to your ear? Here's what's funny about that. I would imagine they're almost identical. I believe Peter Ahrens designed both. I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure he designed the amp. He might have designed the pedal. I didn't ask him. So you guys know Peter Ahrens designed the new Bad Cat amps. I love Peter. He is a genius. He was the guy who redesigned the Soldano amps. He designed a lot of synergy stuff. He designed the mini Soldano head, I believe, and then eventually he left Boutique and he's now working for Bad Cat. So a lot of times you guys hear me say like, oh, I really like this new product, or I like something like I love the new Bad Cat amps. You understand there's more to it than just like, I like that stuff. I tend to know the people in the industry, and whether they're friends or I just respect them. Peter is someone who I just respected for years. I'd say he's a friend because I like him, but I mean, I don't talk to him on the regular. I think more accurate should say I respect him more than we're friends, although I'd like to be his friend. You know what I mean? So to answer your question, are they the same? I would imagine they are same, but of course there's a big difference between playing a Class D amplifier with this Soldano. Like, let me put it this way, Brian. If you took that Soldano pedal and stuck it into the return of that amp, the mini Soldano amp, would it sound the same? I bet you it would sound pretty darn close. But if you gave me a choice between those two, I would pick the pedal because I could shove the pedal in front of a bigger amp. That would be the choice. I don't know. Or buy both. It's one of those things where normally I would want to tell you as a piece of advice, like I'd buy both, but don't buy both. Buy the real thing. But the real thing, the cheapest thing you can get your hands on Soldano wise in the new world is a SLO 30, which is $3,000 or 20 something $100 used. And so to me, if I couldn't afford a Soldano, because I couldn't, so like I said, the one I have is through a friendship through Joe. The mini head would be a good way to satisfy that. The pedal's a great way to satisfy that running an amp. You know what I would be curious of, better than your question, here's an answer is, if you go on Reverb, you can tend to find Astroverbs all the time for about $1,000. If you guys don't know, the Astroverb is a Soldano head. It's a one-channel head. It is made in the USA. It's made by Soldano. They make combos. They make heads. It's like a really great clean amp with reverb. And it's, like I said, made in USA and Soldano. It's called the Astroverb. You used to get them for no money. People started pushing them up, but now the market's kind of swinging back down again. $1,000 seems to be reasonable. You get that amp, that clean platform, that cool Soldano, logo on it, the whole 9 yards. You have a real Soldano amp. You stick that SLO pedal in front of it, you got an SLO as far as I'm concerned. Close enough for what would be $1,200-ish dollars. Right, for the pedal and the amp in. If you could do that, that's something I would recommend. I'd like that. But no, if like I said, they're pretty much going to be the same, the mini head and the pedal, but I would imagine the pedal is cooler because you can plug it in front of another amp. Okay, well, a couple more quick ones. Ready? Then we'll call it. Alvaro says, looking into a forever combo amp, but torn between the new Black Cat or Tone King Imperial Mark II. I do have a Helix. Which one I love? What would you do? Okay, so I've had both those amps. The Black Cat, obviously I have that currently, and the Tone King Imperial Mark II, which is a fantastic amp. They are totally different amps. I mean, so that's the hard part right there. The Tone King Imperial amp is essentially if you watch my review, it's a Tweed amp. It's a 2-channel amp. It's a Tweed amp, and it's Fender Tweed, and it's the Fender 65 Deluxe Reverb. You can kind of the magic of those two amps. Both are fantastic. And then, of course, the Black Cat is kind of like this big kind of version of a Fender. It's not a Fender 65 Deluxe, but it's kind of big version of it, with more mids and more throatiness. And then, of course, this Marshally chronic crunch to it. So that's what's really cool. The other thing about that is the price-wise, the Black Cat is cheaper, and not that matters, but I got to tell you, like, the logic. If I was going to have one, I would have the Black Cat, and the Black Cat is a little less expensive. And I like these kind of questions because I have no agenda here. I'm friends with the boutique amp guys, and I'm friends with the Bad Cat guys. They're both great guys. I both have tons of their amps, and I love and support both those guys. But as much as I love the Tone King Imperial 2, which is a fantastic amp, if I was only going to be able to have one of those amps, for me, it would be the Black Cat. One thing I would caution you, though, is that you have his Helix. You didn't say anything, but if you love it, if you're looking for a platform amp, the Bad Cat will do it great. The Black Cat Bad Cat will do a great platform amp, but maybe the Tone King would be more your seasoning because it's more clean. It's just more about a clean amp and less about being a all-in-one thing. What I love about the Bad Cat Black Cat is I have not yet shoved any pedals in front of it. I don't need to. I just plug in that amp and it's done. I got a great overdrive sound. I got a great clean sound. I got awesome reverb. I have everything I need in life. That amp, I mean, it's just one-stop shop done. So that's what it is. The Imperial was like a lot of cool things going on, but it wasn't everything. Like, I'll play metal on the Black Cat. I'll play rock. I'll play blues. I'll play country. I'll play, clean. I'll play whatever. I'll play polka music on it. Okay. Red-Eyed Flutist says, how do you clean the inside of your guitar hard case? It smells bad over time. I was told you can get these charcoal bags, even at the dollar store. It's like some kind of charcoal filter packs, and you can throw them in there. I've never tried it, but I suggest it because it's inexpensive, and I keep hearing about it. Okay, let's see if I can do one. Trick or treat, Phil, please. SuperSonic 60, reliable, good in your opinion. I do not feel like the SuperSonic 60 is as good as the 22. Is it reliable? It's probably more reliable than the SuperSonic 22, in the idea that I think older Fender stuff, older being in the last 10 years, is better than newer Fender because obviously, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of drama with Fender and the idea that their employees aren't happy. they're working them hard. They're not paying them enough with the inflation and stuff. So that has an effect on product. I mean, it just does. And so I think the older ones will be better. But here's the thing about that. Supersonic 60. I don't like the head because the Supersonic 60 head doesn't have reverb, and I kind of want reverb. If you get the Supersonic 60 combo, it does have reverb. Here's my problem. I don't think the clean on the Supersonic 60 is as good as the Supersonic 22, and I think the distortions are about the same. They're both very good. So I like the Supersonic 22 over the Supersonic 60. Just my thought. But you can get Supersonic 60 sometimes less for Supersonic 22s. And if money is an issue and you want to just kind of grab something, I wouldn't say you'd be miserable with it. Okay. Trick or Treat AZ says, I sold my Astroverb. He sold his ass. No, he sold his Astroverb Soldano years ago and missed it. I paid $700 in snakeskin. Yeah, it's a great amp. I had mine. I got mine for like $800-900, really good. I ended up selling it at the peak when they were like probably 14. I don't remember. I just remember I made a couple $100 on it when I sold it, but I sold it because obviously I got the SLO 30. Okay. Let's see if I can do one more. Okay, let's see if I can grab the one last ones. Hold on. Okay, we stocked Soldano. Okay, you're talking about this. That's, you guys are making, I'm looking for questions. I think that's it. I mean, if I grab one right now, it'd be just, I think that's it for questions. All right. So there you go. I hope you guys have an amazing weekend. I have a video, I believe comes out tomorrow or Sunday, which will be cool. It's a really impressive $300 guitar that I'm blown away by. And the one thing that's really impressive is it's an amazing $300 guitar that's a brand name, which is a shocker. Usually you're like, oh, $300 guitar, you think it's going to be one of these new brands or one of these brands that are not huge brands. This is a huge brand name. Super impressed. I bought this because I've been eyeballing it since January when they released it. I thought it was really cool. So that video should be this weekend. And then there's a couple other videos that are coming out this week that I'm excited about. And so I hope you guys are interested in those as always. And like I said, if you guys want to check out the Instagram or Facebook, we're putting a lot of stuff there we used to not put. So I hope you guys enjoy that as well. But the rest of you guys, I hope, Brian's like, when's the Nags video coming? I have to edit it. That's it. I just have to edit it. Anyways, I thank you guys for hanging out on this Black Friday. I hope you guys have the rest of the holiday weekend. If you're not holiday weekend, I just hope you have a great weekend. And as always, I want to thank you guys so much for hanging out. And until the next time, know your gear.